Hey, this is Jim at 7:43 a.m. in San Francisco, California on September the 7th. Please note that all discussions, analysis, and information presented are for general informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or any other form of professional advice. So, I want to show you guys a couple things here. The most important thing to my eye, like the most dead simple thing that everyone can follow and monitor here this week, is this yellow downtrend line that I have here, or trend underneath the market, in theory support typically. Price undershot this a little bit here, but this would be one of these typical kind of third contacts. If you want to use really dead simple stuff to look at, I always like to look at a potential third contact point, either to the upside or the downside, depending on if you're forming a high or forming a potential low as far as a turning point. Then what I want to look at is, especially if it undershoots or overshoots that third contact point, I want to look for a reversal back up through. So that would be $8.80-ish for the rest of the week here. And if we can get that reversal, we can start a run. You guys can see this downtrend line right here. If and when AMC turns and breaks back up through that, what we want to see is, we don't want to see just a runaway move to the upside, because that'll obviously leave behind a hidden retest level that we have to come back and deal with down the road. Now, it is possible to start a big run by leaving behind a hidden retest. We did that back in May of 2021 and left behind a retest at I think it was in the low nines. And then obviously we moved all the way up to the 72.60 all-time high into early June, and then came all the way back down, years later to take care of that hidden retest. But I always prefer to see a trend break and then to see the ABCDE vibration sequence take place before the big move. Either way, the first target I'll have my eye on really is, well, the first significant target would be $45. You guys can see there are other hidden retest levels at lower levels. Here's one. There'll be a couple actually right here, depending on which trend line you want to track. So basically, shoot your horizontal trend line off of that trend break, and you'll see that there are two different hidden retest levels right here that you also can focus on the way back up. So we'll call it 32.85 and maybe 34.45. So there'll be some hidden retest levels right there. But really, this is the most significant, and this is the one that I personally want to track during the month of September and October. And keep in mind, this is basically $4.50. So as much of a victory as this looks like at this point, as we're trading, sub $8 earlier this morning, 7.71. That's 77 cents pre-CRS, which is just obviously tragic, but it is what it is. So this is what I'm going to focus on. Here's the other thing I want to focus on. This ignition volume that I talked about on 8:30, everything was perfect about this. We started to move up. We were continuing to track and move up into 9.5. And then, of course, what happens right here, Adam Aaron comes out, files the 8K, says he wants to sell another chunk of AMC stock, even though he already had authorization to sell 25 million shares as of the CRS date. So anyway, it's pretty inexplicable as far as the timing of Adam Aaron's announcements. Again, the last significant announcement he made was right here, obviously, as we were running to what now amounts to $88. So we were at $88 Friday afternoon after the close on Judge Zern's rejection of the settlement agreement, and moved from $88 down to $7.71. So bouncing back to this idea of ignition volume, we had ignition volume right here on 8:30. The previous two times that had happened. One was January 2021 before the big run. The other was May 2021 before the big run. So we were in a perfect position to take off. Obviously, Adam Aaron comes in again with this news, this 8K filing yesterday pre-market, and here you go. So then what we had is really unusual. We had bearish ignition volume. So here was our bullish ignition volume on the 30th. We had bearish ignition volume yesterday. Well, typically both bullish and bearish ignition volume would be in force and carry consequences for multiple sessions after the ignition. So the most bullish outcome here for us, and really, in my mind, the only possibility for us to come screaming out of the hole is to now trigger another ignition volume sequence, either later today or Friday, Monday. Friday, Monday would make a lot of sense to me based on some zones of strength that I have coming up in the BAM model. So again, if we see that, what you want to look for is on the 60-minute bar level, so hourly price bar level, you want to look for 5.5 million shares or greater on 3 consecutive green bar closes. If we can do that either tomorrow, the 8th, or Monday, the 11th, then we'll have one of the most bizarre series probably the most bizarre series I've ever seen. I'd have to get my data guys to go back and look at basically every stock on the exchange and figure out ignition volume. It's different for every single stock, and then go back and see if this has ever happened. But to my eye, this is pure manipulation. And if we're going to see a really nice outcome here to the upside, it most likely would involve another announcement made, probably by Adam Aaron, and that would then kick off 3 consecutive green closing bars, 5.5 million or greater, and we'd be off and running. So again, we've got some hidden retest levels sitting here. We've got hidden retest levels sitting here. You've got hidden retest levels sitting here. So basically, 13 and change quickly, and then 22, call it, quickly, and then up here we looked at 32, 33, what was it? Just call it 33.75 quickly. All of these are hidden retest levels, so that adds confidence to the idea that we most likely will see ignition volume, bullish ignition volume, prior to the move, because this is what I call a bullish retest cascade, meaning you just hit retest levels one after the other, after the other, after the other. Now, most of the time you'll hesitate, and so you'll go through, you'll make contact at 13 and change, and you'll go through the vibration sequence. Then you'll violently make contact at 22 and change, and go through the vibration sequence, and then up here and vibration sequence, and then so in other words, a stair step. It's less common to see just a rocket ship straight line move, but it can happen. If it does happen, then we'll deal with the timing of when the stock needs to pull back and move through the vibration sequence at those other 3 hidden retest levels that lie down here. As far as timing, and I'm going to start sharing both price and time windows again, because at this point these guys are manipulating the stock so heavily that I don't really see any downside in sharing all of this information. I have a feeling that they're about to flip the market and, in other words, stop manipulating it to the downside, because they've accomplished the mission they wanted to accomplish. I mean, they just forced the stock down to 77 cents. We have to assume that there's been a tremendous amount of short covering that's already taken place, and that can continue to take place off of a turning point low and on the way back up as well. Not to mention, if Adam Aaron has sold shares directly to these guys, that also takes care of a lot of it. Plus, remember, because he did the reverse split if he's selling, if he's selling 10 million shares, that's like 100 million shares. So you can pretty easily see short covering into the billions in the old pre-reverse split math. And you can make an argument that these guys have been taking care of it and that now they will orchestrate a run to the upside, in which case it's far less likely that they'll manipulate and shoot against any of my zones of strength. So we've got some zones of strength scattered between sort of the 8th and the 11th. So it sort of looks like that. We've got nice looking zones of strength here, sort of 918-ish. And then we've got some zones of strength out here in October. So, this would be a pretty violent move, obviously, to be able to hit these types of price levels this quickly. In other words, by about September 18th. But if you sort of look at the amount of time that it took at least to move from this, say, $35 level down to $7.71, this is not unrealistic at all to see a move right back to $32 into sort of 918-ish. So let's just sort of use that for the time being, and then let's use this as, to me, this looks conservative. But let's just use this $45 target into, the second week of October as our, let's see if that's right. Yeah, into the second week of October, we'll use this $45 as our target there. And again, if you look at the speed of the decline on the way down here, that also doesn't look that, unusual. If you want to talk in terms of sort of market symmetry. So that's what things look like. I think we'll probably retest 13 into the 9th or 11th. I think we'll probably retest 32 into the 18th-ish. And I think we'll probably retest 45 into the second week of October. That's what things look like from my side. This has been brutal to watch, and although I've recorded everything and I'm going to continue to file other SEC whistleblower reports, the way that works is that you don't hear back from them. You would think the process would be that they would, say thank you for submitting this, and we're looking into it, and then they would come back within a reasonable period of time and say, hey, we think this is completely bogus. Thank you, go away. Or this is interesting. We're going to dig a little deeper and let you know. That's not the process. The process is you submit the whistleblower report. The first you hear back from them, if you're going to hear back from them, is when they send you an email and literally tell you this is how much money you just won as the percentage of the total fine that they levy. And that's it. That's the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hope that at least my original whistleblower report has someone's attention, and that there's someone over there at the SEC that realizes this is so blatant that they don't want to have their name attached or associated with saying, hey, I reviewed this information from BAM and there was nothing to it, because there is something to it. I'm positive. So what I'm going to do is follow it up with a couple other whistleblower reports that include a little bit of that original information and then some other stuff that I've seen recently. Because again, it's one thing to identify the methodology they use to manipulate price. It's another thing to show the exact dates and times that they're applying that methodology. And that's what I've done. Instead of leaving this in a sort of a generic sense, hey, here's what a predatory algorithm would look like in a theoretical world, I'm showing them the exact date, exact time, most of the time right down to seconds or minutes, or in a few hours if they're running it over a couple hours. And so again, I'm hopeful that someone's going to, at the very least, contact the people who I've called out in my whistleblower report, and contact them and say, hey, knock it off. Which either way, that's at least a small victory in my mind. Anyway, that's it from my side. Good luck, everybody.